All right, let's talk requirements. These are some of the items that typically I'm going to use for a job like this. Building your stand, you can use a miter saw right here. This one here is a battery operated one. Provides sliding so I can cut bigger items. It also swivels back and forth. That helps out a lot. If you don't have one of these, they're not the cheapest things on the market. You can also go with a standard skill saw. That's going to get the job done. Worst case, you can even fall back to a sawzall. Over here you have a jigsaw, or if you're really feeling energetic, you could get a standard handsaw. Other than that, tape measures are always useful. 90-day square, those are good as well. Just standard ruler. Triangles are also nice. You can slide them up against the wood, make your straight line cuts. Drills to pre-drill the holes. Those are important so you don't crack the wood. But for the most part, safety wise, you can use some gloves. And then also you got your safety glasses as well to keep that sawdust out of your eyes. So tool wise, something like this is what you should be looking at. And then here I have my little impact drive, or just a standard drill, whatever works for you, but essentially something like that to put everything together, so you're not hand jamming it with a old school screwdriver. That'll get tiring fast. As far as materials, I'm going to be using a bunch of 2.5 inch screws. I have the Torx bits. You can see there a little bit. Obviously I'm not going to need all 25 pounds of these, but the more you buy, cheaper it is, and I always got some kind of project going on. For the method that I'm doing, I'm looking at 22 2x4s that are 8 foot long. And then for the top, I'm going to use probably all of these here, just to replace a top shelf as opposed to doing a piece of plywood, which costs a lot more. If you're not too familiar with these fence pickets, essentially you're looking at pretty much a 1x6 by 6 foot long, and those babies run about $2 each, where if you're looking at a 2x4, you're looking at about $3.64, at least down here in Florida. So $3.64 for a 2x4 versus I can get one of these guys for $2.08 and cut that in half, run it across my top as supports, and that gives me something to put my shelves on. So pardon the train wreck I got going on in here, but essentially what I'm looking to do is I'm going to build my shelf right over here. It's going to be 3 wide and I believe it's 6 high, so I can have a total of 18 of these 27-gallon totes. I got these ones here from Home Depot, pretty reasonably cheap. You'll see this stuff all over on Facebook, people selling them for obscene amounts of money. I think right now I've got about 70 bucks into the wood. It's going to hold 18 of them, and like I said, it'll go almost all the way up to the ceiling. I've got a 100-inch ceiling, and then other than that, measure out whatever containers you want to use, and then that's how you're going to design your layout. All right, so when it comes down to building your rack, you need to decide what size tote you actually want to build it for. For me and most of the people you see on Facebook, they build a 27-gallon storage shelf. So with that being said, you got measurements right here you could go off of, or obviously you can just measure the stuff yourself. But essentially, measure it out, and then measure the depth. So what I will tell you is it says wide. For the way that it's standing right now, that's how deep it is. 19 inches long. That's the width for how I have it standing. And then the 15 inches high is this way. So me personally, I like to give probably about a 1/2 inch extra on each one of these measurements as far as when you build your shelf. But with that, as you build your spacers to set up your upright, you can either go through and measure all the way up, your 16 inches all the way up in my case, or you can build a template out of some of the scrap wood. I got scrap wood here, I got scrap wood here, and I got old stuff and a little bit of leftover because I always buy too much. So figure out what works for you. But for me, I'm gonna build a template. All right, so when it comes to building the uprights for your slides, what we're gonna be looking at is we're gonna have a total of 5 29-inch boards connecting the two 80-inch uprights together. So what I do is I start out at 2.5 inches, come down. That's gonna be your first one right here. And then using my template, these are spaced 12.5 apart. Your next one's gonna be here. And then I'll just go ahead and I'll slide it down and I'll mark all the way down. And then by doing that, on the two boards, they'll be perfectly matched. And with that, once you attach everything, your matching boards will look something like this. As I said, this is gonna be 5 high. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slides. And then when I get to the top, I'm gonna put boards across the top of it so that I can then put additional totes or whatever else I want to store up on top of my actual stand. So theoretically, even though it's a 5x3 for 15 totes, I could theoretically put 18 on it because I'm going to still have the top shelf where I can store stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and mark up the rest of these and then build them out like this. And then once all of these are built, we will connect them on the bottom with those 66-inch wide 2x4s that'll serve as the base. And then same thing, they will be on the top as well. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So what I did forget to mention is your two center uprights, your ladders, if you will. They are actually going to be double stacked as far as the slides go. So you can see I already marked all the way down to add the slides to this side as well. So by putting those on each side, then your middle row will have its slides as well. So I'll add them to this one and this one. So we'll have 2 that have double slides, and then we'll have 2 that have single slides, and that'll make up our 3 rows of slides. All right, so now that I got the top and bottoms on, we go ahead and grab it, stand it up. So you see it's got a little wiggle to it. If you're paranoid, you can run straps across, like a 1x6 would be a good triangle support. For me, I'm just gonna put some wood across the back, and then I'm gonna attach that wood to the studs on the wall. It ain't going nowhere. So, as I said before, this is designed for the 27-gallon totes. So, slide them right on in. You can see we still got the space below. Slide those by. Doesn't leave much room, but that's what we want because we don't want the wasted space. So with that, that's what we're looking at. All right, so I ended up realizing I had 2 extra pickets, so I ended up cutting up 5 of them. So now I got 10 of these boards, equally space them out. And I grabbed some smaller screws. These ones are right at 1.5 inches, so I won't be stabbing through the 2x4 once I go through this as well. That's that. So got the top all installed, as you can see. So now we just stand it up and I got to put it in my garage. All right guys, so I got it all installed up against the wall. What I ended up doing, I had a couple pieces of like pallet scrap wood. So went ahead and attached it, drilled it into the back on the other side. I then found my stud using a stud finder. So it was right here. Put these 2 screws in to hold it, and you see here, it ain't going nowhere. Thing's nice and stable. So plenty good. Now I just got to load it up with all these crates. That'll really help my storage. Hopefully my hot water tank, knock on wood, doesn't go bad anytime soon, but worst case, I've got 4 screws in it. I also ran one into this side wall right here to further strengthen it up. So that's up against that wall. Got one there and one there. But appreciate you watching. I'll show you once I get all the boxes on there as well. All right, so got it all loaded up. Even threw some stuff up on top. We got a Christmas tree up there. I got some Christmas lights. And I put the snowman over there. But yeah, so now I can actually get to my stuff. Got it all loaded up. It's a little tight on the top. If I had to do it again, I'd probably give myself 2 3/4, maybe even 3 inches, starting on the top right there. But otherwise, everything works out pretty good.